Hello and welcome to part two. Just a pile of random thoughts. After you see this, you'll have the chance to email Mr. Lang or Mr. Barloon with any questions. They're going to forward them on to me, and then I'll make part three, a third video answering all the questions, which is what I would have done had I been there last night when we got a big ice storm. Good that I didn't come, because I might have gotten stuck there. There are worse places to get stuck than Independence. Sometimes people want to know how much money to bring for food. Most of your meals you'll eat at what's called counter service restaurants, unless you make some advanced dining reservations and explore some of the great restaurants that Disney World has to offer. You'll probably just spend anywhere from $8 to $12 on a counter service meal. It's a little more expensive than a regular fast food meal, but the portion sizes are bigger. The backs of your pocket itineraries will have suggested places to go. If you buy the book, you'll learn about every single counter service restaurant at Disney World. By the way, I don't get a cut from the book or anything like that. I'm just a big believer in it. And I'm not alone. It's not like I'm some lone voice crying in the wilderness. If you've been to Disney World before, you know how valuable the unofficial guide is. Something I would have spent a lot of time talking about at the orientation meeting would have been how to get around Disney's transportation system. And it's really hard to do in a video. So I'd urge you to go to allears.net or www.info.com to figure out more of that if you think that you're going to be doing some park hopping. We're discouraging the park hopping on the 2 days of the performances just so that you don't get stuck not getting back in. There are also those who think that there's a danger of the parks closing if they get too crowded. There is some truth to that. The days that normally happens are July 4th, December 25th, and December 31st. So one of those days is one of your touring days. And the parks that would normally get closed would be the Magic Kingdom or Disney Hollywood Studios, because the smaller capacity, both of those. Epcot almost never closes because it gets too full. And it is pretty rare for the other two. What I'd suggest is that you ask a cast member, somebody wearing a badge that looks like this, if you're wondering if it's wise to leave the park and go park hopping or not, because sometimes they'll have an idea of that. Speaking of which, anytime you have any questions, you're not alone. Any cast member wearing a badge wants to help everybody all the time, and they love informal interactions with people, with guests. You're not a customer, you're a guest in their eyes. So please, if you need anything, ask them. They love helping, almost all of the time. Excuse me. Mr. Lang and Mr. Barloon have photocopied the back of your ticket, which has all kinds of numbers on it. If it gets lost, don't lose your ticket. If it gets lost, it will be easy to take care of you because of that photocopy. But don't lose your ticket, because it would be a big hassle and you'd have to find each other. Treat your ticket like cash, because it's as valuable as cash. Same thing with your meal cards. We've already talked about fast passes. When you do get a fast pass, hang on to them. Don't buy a fast pass on eBay. They're almost always scams. Plus, they're only good the day that you get them. The cast members do look at them carefully enough to see that. But you don't have to worry about going by the end time. They usually ignore that. Just make sure you go after the start time. Maps are available at the parks. It'd be great if you could get these at the hotel ahead of time. Sometimes the hotels have them. But what they don't have are the times guide and new information. So don't just get the map for the park. Always get a times guide. It has all the times for the shows, because they're shows, not just rides, at Disney World, and the precise hours of anything with different hours than the normal park operating hours, including some restaurants. Make sure you do that. If you don't want to carry a paper map around with you and you've got an iPod Touch or an iPhone, there's an app. There are mini apps that you can get if you're familiar with the App Store. If you're an iPod or iPod Touch, or if you're an iPod Touch or an iPhone user, you can do that. It'll probably be too hard to see, but here's a map of the Magic Kingdom. It's booting up. It's coming any second now. A map of the Magic Kingdom. Well, anyway, yeah, nice for live. There it is. There's a map of the Magic Kingdom. I don't know how well that's coming across. But, like all other things on the iPod Touch or the iPhone, you can move it around, you can poke it and find out what it is. So if you're a nerd like me, you might dig that thing. That might be a lot of fun. We talked in part one about using time wisely and making sure that you got a plan for seeing those hot things that you really want to see. But there are some shows, some attractions, some areas that aren't hot, that aren't in high demand. And at a crowded and hectic day, like all 4 of your days will be, again, you need 7 to 8 days to make sure you see everything at a reasonable pace. You don't have that luxury. There's lots of stuff you can do in the afternoon that's relaxing. Some indoor things that are air conditioning, comfortable seating. There are a couple things I like to see twice, take a nap one time, and actually look at the attraction the other time. Also, if you're daring, especially when you're at Epcot, you might want a chance exiting the park and visiting some of the DisneyWorld resort hotels, especially outside of Epcot's World Showcase. You've got the boardwalk area and the Yacht and Beach Club hotels where there's like a nice beach there. You can't swim in the lake. Never swim in freshwater lakes in Florida because of alligators or crocodiles or whatever those things are. I'm not kidding. Excuse me. So that's worth checking out, and it's relaxing. In fact, if the studios or Epcot gets so busy and it's just driving you nuts, leave the park and go on the walkway between the two parks. In about an hour, you'll be to the other one, and you'll pass some really interesting hotels. You can duck in and check out the beautiful lobbies. Disney hotels are really quite nice. Some of them are upwards of $400 a night. The Grand Floridian is on the Epcot, or on the Magic Kingdom monorail system, and you can check that out. When you do want to use park transportation, there are buses that'll take you from park to park, plus a monorail that goes between Epcot and the Ticket and Transportation Center, and between the Magic Kingdom and the Ticket and Transportation Center. If you take the monorail from the Ticket and Transportation Center to the Magic Kingdom, get yourself situated in the third car from the back, because then when you arrive at the Magic Kingdom, the doors will open right at the top of the steps, and you'll be the first people down the ramp. Allears.net is loaded with little tidbits like that if you're into that kind of thing. You're going to be tempted to buy souvenirs when you see them, and when you're in the Epcot World Showcase, you might be seeing them in the only place where you can buy them. When it comes to t-shirts, sweatshirts, things like this, things like the pins I showed you earlier, most of the time you can find that at the big Disney store at Downtown Disney, where you'll be on January 1st. Buy your souvenirs then, because you'll only be there for a few hours. You're going to eat and do some shopping, and then the next thing you'll do is get on the bus, the coach, and go back to the hotel. So you won't have to carry it around all day. If you're like that family we talked about in that first video, well, let's see. Boy, there looks like there's a lot of nice shopping right over here. We should go there first, get some souvenirs. Well, if you do that, then you're going to be carrying around a bag full of stuff for 12 hours, unless you pay through the nose for a locker, which you can do if you're a big souvenir shopper. Just maybe you can scope out things you want and then find it at Downtown Disney. It'll just be a much better use of your time. Those are just some additional random thoughts for you. Now, if you have any questions, please email them to Mr. Lang or Mr. Barloon. They'll forward them to me, and I will upload a final video, part 3 of the orientation, to take the place of the question and answer session that we would have had at last night's meeting. I'll post that on Tuesday evening, so make sure that you get your questions to Mr. Lang before noon on Tuesday. It's a deadline I just made up right now. I'm jealous. I wish I could go with you. I haven't been there since March. I'm not going to go there again until this coming March. Going through a little withdrawal. It's been 9 months, and I got to wait another 3. I hope you have a great time. Send your questions in. I enjoy doing this very much. Love talking Disney. We'll talk to you later.